and welcome to Professional Educators of Tennessee's webinar about social media and the holidays, or good social media guidelines for any time, but we're reminding you because it's the holidays. Tonight your presenters will be Audrey Shores and Samantha Bates. That's me. I'm a former middle school teacher. I'm now the Director of Member Services with Professional Educators of Tennessee, and Audrey Shores is our Director of Communications and Technology. So we're going to go ahead and begin. Just a reminder, this webinar is being recorded. It will be posted to YouTube later. So when we start getting through the different settings on Facebook and Twitter, you don't actually have to go open Facebook or Twitter right now. You can just watch and then go back later when it's on YouTube, and you can pause it and then do your settings then. Also, if you ever have any questions during the presentation, there is a questions pane. You can ask questions there. There is one slide that is interactive, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on that one. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Professional Educators of Tennessee, we have several core principles. The first one is professionalism. Our members are committed to making positive contributions to the education profession and the lives of students by maintaining personal and professional dignity, by respecting and obeying the law, demonstrating personal integrity and exemplifying honesty and ethical behavior, and assuming the responsibilities for professional teaching practices and performance. Now, when we talk about social media, one thing, especially young teachers like I was, one thing we like to point out is that, we're Americans, we have free speech, our First Amendment rights. Well, the first point is that just because something is legal doesn't mean that it's necessarily a good idea. And the second point would be it's not necessarily legal. Courts do not side with teachers and educators on issues that involve social media. What you would have to prove to clear your name, it's impossible. You would have to prove that it doesn't disrupt the learning environment. You would have to prove that it doesn't affect your work relationships with your students, your parents, or your coworkers. You would have to prove that it is not offensive to the community. And anything can be offensive to any community. So that is the caveat. If you want to claim that you have free speech, I'm just going to warn you up front, you're going to lose. That is not a good leg to stand on. So let's begin with some social media don'ts. Are you ready, Audrey?
I'm ready. And one last note on the court part is that really, if you're at the point that you're having to argue First Amendment rights, you've probably already lost in the court of public opinion. So all the people that matter at that point, you've already made it a big enough issue that you've hurt yourself and your image to the point that regardless of what the court decides, you've already had a negative impact.
That's a great point. So here we go. Please do not post about illegal activity, and you will notice that we have blurred out some parts of the tweets and Facebook posts that you're going to see. This one refers to illegal drug usage. This one is death threat about her students. The first teacher is no longer employed. The second teacher was reprimanded. And if I were her boss, I would have fired her. I really don't know how she got away with that.
And one of them did claim that she was joking, so don't post these things even as a joke, even though this teacher probably had absolutely no intention of ever shooting her students. You can't joke about that. The same way you don't joke about having a bomb at the airport. It's just not a smart thing to do. I think one of these teachers claimed that it was a parody account with her and a friend, and the friend was posting all the stuff, and she didn't even know about it, and it doesn't matter. Your name is attached to it. You are responsible for it.
Yeah, if your friends are doing this with your image and your name, you need better friends. So this one is controversial. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you are an educator, do not have photos of yourself around alcohol. If you will notice, this teacher, former teacher actually, is not drinking. She is holding a glass of wine and she is holding a glass of beer. She is not holding a job because she was fired for this image. She went to court saying that the district did not respect her due process rights. She lost. This one applies to everyone that is, some of these apply to people who aren't teachers, but this one is especially for teachers. Don't complain about your job or your coworkers online. It's tasteless, first of all, but it can get you fired. As an educator, I would be really sensitive to Breaking Bad references just because in the show Walter White was an educator turned drug dealer. Probably don't suspect your principal of texting you while drunk publicly. That's not good decorum. Some sites will tell you not to post on social media while you're supposed to be working. This is from Wired magazine. Managers are split as to whether social media use during the workday helps or hinders job performance. The participatory nature of Twitter and Facebook makes them excellent tools for supercharging creativity. Myself personally, there are Twitter chats that occur during the day that I participate in. They are definitely work-related. So let's do a good idea, bad idea. Posting while you're supposed to be working. Good idea. You are sharing the professional development session you're at. You are talking with other educators or other professionals about what you're learning or about how they can find the same resources you have. That's a good idea. Bad idea would be showing exactly how you're off task. This was an image and the caption was, "I'm really learning a lot in this session." I don't know what they're learning, but that's what they are learning in this session. With social media accounts, there's a fine line between sharing something that you find humorous about your workday and insulting the people that you serve. So we've got this image sharing a student's name, which borders on a confidentiality breach as a second point. But we have a contest to see who has the strangest student name. This is Yohines. This one's a special ed teacher. Apparently, paper and crayons are on the menu today. You will see that Fox News 10 picked this one up. This Facebook post, an Ohio high school music teacher has been placed on leave after posting racially charged rants on his Facebook page decrying the lewd actions of a, quote, ghetto trick-or-treater. This is one that Audrey and I found. We couldn't edit it enough to put it in our slideshow to give you an idea of how bad this one was.
Yes, there was profanity, racism, pretty much everything you could imagine in that post. It was, yeah, the first version I saw of it was so edited, I was like, I don't understand why this is offensive, and then I saw it unedited and went, oh.
So that's the news article about the post, because we couldn't actually show you the post. That's how bad that one was.
There was plenty of news coverage on it.
Yeah. Don't violate the student-teacher relationship. This particular teacher in England included, the point was about Facebook privacy settings, and we'll get to that in a minute, but the point was be careful what you put on Facebook because anyone can see it. So she took a picture of one of her teen students who was in a bikini and put it in a school-wide assembly PowerPoint. That's humiliating. Then this one is from, actually these two are from the same women who posted the illegal things in the very first slide. Don't tell your students that you hate them. Don't tell them that they've ruined your summer. Don't call them jailbait. it's easy to forget when you're using social media that it documents your life. And so if you're lying, social media can be a way to verify your whereabouts because frequently places are, posts are time-stamped. Some include your location. So if you've called in sick and you post yourself in your hammock, or if the night before you're taking bets to see if you are going to make it to work on time, your administrator, your supervisors are not going to be pleased or impressed.
And you may think that they're not going to see this because you're posting it on your personal page, but in the next section we will explain exactly why that is not at all true. Just because you don't think that they can see it immediately doesn't mean that they won't be able to, or it won't get passed along for them.
A lot of teachers, when you think of confidential information, you think grades, you think full-blown records, but confidentiality laws apply to less than you think they do. They apply to snippets of information that you wouldn't think are covered. So anything that can be personally identifiable, that's confidential. Student records, names and addresses, social security numbers, descriptions that could easily identify the student, and embargoed information should never be shared publicly. These are need-to-know areas. So if you describe someone who is in a class, it's possible that just by saying what class period that person is in, someone could determine who you were talking about. This one is another one where we just couldn't bring ourselves to share with you some of the posts and tweets we found. So we've included some helpful guidelines about what to share on your social media pages and profiles. Your status is not your diary. If the post involves a body part, it probably should not be shared. If you had a video of the event, if you wouldn't share it on YouTube, don't share a description of the event on Facebook. If you don't want your grandmother to see it, don't put it on Twitter. The only people who need to know about your sex life, your periods, your bowel movements, or other bodily fluids are your significant other and your doctor, and that's pretty much only on a need-to-know basis. And that's all I'm going to say about that. This is a fun tweet that got actually a team of people fired, not just one, like 30 people axed. I find it ironic that Detroit is known as the Motor City, and yet no one here knows how to blanking drive. Tweeted by Chrysler Autos. This is one that if you manage a school account or a school club account, you need to be very careful when you make a post, especially a quick jot on your phone who you're posting as. Because if you post something from the school account that is not appropriate for the school account, no one is going to be amused.
And you want to be especially careful with this on your phone. I know on my phone I have about 4 of our accounts, including my personal one on Twitter, and it's very easy to click on a notification and have it switch me over to one of our professional accounts without me realizing it, because the last time I was on there was on my personal account. So I've accidentally, liked my own post, so it looks like I'm logged in as ProEd, and ProEd likes a ProEd post, whereas I meant to me personally like or share that post. So it's just very, very easy for that to happen. So if you are in charge of those things, you always want to be extra vigilant about exactly what account you are in when you're posting.
So if you're going to post something, this one occurred during a holiday. It was, the original context of this picture is an aunt playing with a nephew. If you're a parent and you see your teacher forcibly shoving a child into a chair or pretending to strangle someone, that looks bad out of the original context. So maybe have someone else look at your pictures and say, hey, from this angle, what do you see? Or take yourself out of the knowledge of the situation and ask yourself, what do I see when I look at this image? Because a few years removed, I see an adult hurting a child, but that's not what's going on here. And I'm not in this picture, but I took this picture. And a parent could easily say, what did you put on your Facebook page? So we've looked at several posts that were interesting. In the questions pane, if you would, share your thoughts about this particular Facebook post.
So everyone's responses are that this is completely inappropriate, for one. That this person is likely to get fired, at least reprimanded in some way.
We've got some people breaking it down. We've got drinking. We've got disrespecting students, disparaging lawyers and the parents. You would have a really hard time, and by hard time I mean impossible. You would have an impossible time in court saying that this did not damage a work relationship.
Yeah, and it definitely falls under the too much sharing category.
And if a random parent was sitting in the office and saw that other parent in the office going into the conference room and you walked in there, they automatically know whose IEP it was, who has crazy parents, who's a hot mess, who's making you drink after work. We have some awesome audience members tonight. And social media is not just about in the present. You might want to go back and look at what has been posted before you got your job. And by that I mean no one has a flattering 21st birthday picture. Destroy it. Destroy it now.
And this one thing we had to blur out was a racial slur, and part of the defense of the people involved with this picture was, oh, but it's a quote from a song. That's not an excuse.
Context.
Yes. Right, and a lot of people, I've never heard that song. I look at this picture, I would have absolutely no idea. That would make it okay anyway.
Finally, note your appearance on social media. This is the same teacher who was fired for the supposed parody account. And one of these Jamaican bobsledders is a former high school football coach who was fired because of his offensive Halloween costume. If you will note, this one was also picked up by the news.
And we all know that pictures go viral much faster than anything else on social media. So even a simple picture is probably going to spread faster than an offensive, typing something.
And as someone pointed out, it's not even about who you're friends with, because once you accidentally post something, someone can take a screenshot. Like this particular teacher, that Twitter account was deleted months ago. But these screenshots will last forever.
Yeah, we just made this presentation within the last few days, so I think a lot of these accounts are probably gone, but the evidence is still out there.
Some of these things occurred as early as 2009. They're still there. When you Google that teacher's name, that's what pops up. So it's not just about losing your current job. It's about someone going in later and searching you for a job interview and finding out you were fired because of something you did online. So now we promised that we would talk about how to protect your privacy. On Twitter, it's rather straightforward. If you're on Twitter, you go and click on your picture, and that's how you pull up the settings. When you go to the settings, there is security and privacy. If you want it to be private, you come down to where it says tweet privacy, protect my tweets. When you click protect my tweets, your account becomes protected. This is a protected Twitter user. There's a little lock beside his name. The only thing the public can see is how he describes himself. When you go to his profile, if you click on tweets, it just says they're protected. If you click on who he follows, it's protected. Who follows him, protected. What he's favorited, it's all protected. The only thing you can see is his name and how he describes himself. His bio. That's it. On Twitter, you're either protected, which means no one can see it except who you allow, or everyone can see it, and this is my unprotected profile. So when you click on my tweets, you can see what I tweet, you can see who I've replied to, you can see photos and videos I've posted. There are my photos. You can see who I am following, who follows me. You can see all 42,000 tweets that I have favorited. You can see the list I'm on. Twitter is everything or nothing. Facebook, however, is not. When you go onto Facebook, there is a, I don't know how you describe it, upside down chevron. When you click that, you pull up your settings. All of the privacy settings that you will ever want are in these three boxes. These really don't, this has to do with the security of getting into your account. It really doesn't have to do with what you post. So everything that you post will be in these three. The first thing I recommend you do is click on timeline and tagging and go to who can see things on my timeline and review what other people see. Because you want to see what everyone can see. When you first click on that, it takes you to what the public sees, what someone who has not friended you, they just stumble onto you, you don't know them, they don't know you, what they see. You can also view it as a specific person. For the purposes of this presentation, the specific person I chose is my nephew. I don't see him but twice a year. He is a 7th grader, so this represents the person who, if something were on my timeline, who were my friend, this represents someone who, if I was going to post anything I didn't want people to see, he would be the person I would want to see it the least. He's related to me. He's a minor. It would be the most embarrassing. So I chose him. So this is what my timeline or my wall looks like for anybody. And then this is what it looks like for my nephew. It looks different. The things that I share publicly are like work, and then these are photos that I have shared publicly. Whereas he can see things I'm tagged in, and he can see when people post things to my wall. As far as the about goes, the public sees where I work, They see that I attended Bethel University. They see what city I live in, where I'm from. My nephew and people who have friended me, they have my phone number, my Twitter, my blog. They see not only where I work now, but where I have worked. They see not only where I studied last, but everywhere I've studied. They see my husband. They see all my family, but the public doesn't. So there's a lot more information available for my friends than the public. As far as photos go, the public sees very few images of my kids, but if you come over to what my friends see, there they are. They see things that I'm tagged in. For a quick definition, tagging is when you're in a picture and someone clicks on you and says that that's you, or any time you add a person, it says with such and such. Now, if you will notice, the public doesn't get the option of seeing photos of me. So the public, it just says the things I shared and then my albums. My friends can choose to see photos of me. Here's how that works for people that you're not friends with. When I go see, this is one of JC and Bethany's daughters. When I go to her page, I'm not her friend, and so from her page, I can't see her photos. But when I search, in the search bar at the top, photos of this person, every photo that JC and Bethany have shared, because I am their friend, everything that my mutual friends have shared, I have. So even though she may have her settings locked down, if you have a friend that's posting pictures of you and their settings are lax, pictures of you may be getting out that you don't want. But wait, there's more. So you also have the activity log, which is what shows up in people's news feeds. It's their alerts that activity is going on. This afternoon, I liked a post. I liked another post. I commented. This post that I liked was public. Anyone can see that. I liked a photo on JC's page. JC's friends can see that. So that makes sense. So I like his and his friends can see it. That doesn't sound so bad until you consider that JC has 4,981 friends and only 10 of them are mutual friends. So 4,971 people I don't know saw that I liked this photo. If this had been a suggestive photo or some other kind of vaguely offensive photo, a parent could see, who is not your friend, could see that you liked that photo and take that to your administrator and say, this is what your teacher is doing online.
And you have to remember that humor is extremely subjective. So something you may find funny and not think is offensive, someone else may find very offensive. So if it's remotely borderline, you probably want to avoid that. And in this case, you know, Samantha had liked that photo, or say she had commented on that photo, and then one of those 4,000 or so friends also commented on that photo. Well, then their entire network of hundreds of thousands of people are also then given access to that post. So every time somebody interacts with that post, their entire network. So this quickly expands to tens of thousands of people that may be able to see it.
But wait, there's more. I also commented on a friend's post today. It was an image of a church marquee or a school marquee. It was supposed to be breakfast with Santa, but someone changed it to breakfast with Satan. And so we were talking about what breakfast would be served at a breakfast with Satan, and I commented that turkey sausage would be served because it's an abomination. So I looked to see who sees that. His Facebook posts are customized. When I clicked on custom, it didn't tell me anything. So whereas with JC's, I can go and see who his friends are and say, okay, those people saw it. With custom, I have no idea who saw what I wrote. None. I can assume that they were his friends and that they were my friends, but that's an assumption. I don't know who saw this post. So getting into changing your settings. When you go to the settings page, the privacy settings are the first one you will look at. You've got who can, they've made it easier, who can see my stuff, who can contact me, who can look me up. False sense of security, I'm just telling you. Who can see your future posts, you can change this here. And it'll give you some options. Later on there will be the drop down menu. I didn't include it here, but it will be public, be friends, and then you can customize that or choose different networks. You can also change that right where you post. So when you go to post, you can change this to public, which is what I typically do for work. I don't want to hide, my webinar announcements or my ads, so I'll typically make that public and then come back to friends for other personal things. You've also got...
So you probably want your default setting to be your strictest setting.
Mm-hmm.
And then open it up as you feel like. But that way, by default, you're protecting yourself rather than the other way around and trying to catch it when you have it.
Absolutely. You can also go back and limit past posts. I like that Facebook does this because if you'll recall, when Facebook was first developed, it was made specifically for college students. And I don't have to tell you what that really means. But all of my first posts from back in 2005, 2006, the only people who were friends with me were people who attended the same university as I did. And then they opened it up to other universities. So for the first 2 or 3 years, I can be pretty sure that the only people who could see those back then were college students and other college students. Now, anyone I friend can go back and see what I first posted. So if you think that you might need to go back and limit past posts, that might not be a bad idea. You can also, from this page, change who can contact you to send you friend requests. If you want to exclude certain people, you can do that. You can also filter who can send you messages. The email address you provided, if it's your school email address, if someone has that, and this setting is open to everyone, then anyone with your school email address can have that. In Tennessee, school emails are open records, so any Tennessean could add you as a friend or could look you up. Who can look you up using the phone number you provided? Again, be careful with how you share your phone number. And then, do you want other search engines to link to your profile or in your timeline? So if someone Googles you, do you want your Facebook showing up? I have chosen no. Everyone can look me up using my email address and phone number, but I don't want them to Google me. I can't explain that rationale, but anyway. So then you've also got your timeline and tagging settings. This is where things get trickier.
But are also probably the most important, especially as far as teachers are concerned. Who can post on your timeline? You're probably going to want to limit that as much as possible because, you don't want students come on there and posting. I mean, say you give someone a bad grade. If you have that open to anyone being able to post on your timeline, they can come in and say anything. We had a situation with a member who had a business completely unrelated to her teaching, and a parent got upset and went on that business page and wrote all sorts of horrible things about her personally and, just slandering her business to the community at large. So, especially when you're in a situation like an educator where you might possibly upset people, especially with their children, then it's a good idea to just don't let people post anything on your page.
Yes,
You don't know how long it's going to be there before you notice it.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody posts something in the morning and you're not on Facebook while you're at school, and it could be hours before you even realize that someone has posted something there that you don't like.
And that's plenty of time for someone to take a screenshot. I mean, this setting, you're only as secure as the friend you trust the least. So think of everyone you've ever friended on Facebook. If you've friended an acquaintance you don't really trust, you don't really know, you met them maybe at a party or you met them out somewhere, and they friended you on Facebook. If you've got the settings set to friends, this person you don't really know can post stuff onto your timeline. Now maybe you've got great friends who you do want posting to your timeline. That's awesome. There is also a setting that allows you to review posts before they appear in your timeline. So maybe you don't want to turn that off, but you want to be able to review what you're tagged in before it appears. So we recommend enabling this setting. Mine's disabled because I'm not teaching anymore, and it's highly unlikely for me to have to go to court to prove something or not. Sorry, I got distracted by a question and the question's pain. You might want to have this enabled. It'll email you. You'll be notified in a timely manner, but this is just one step towards being secure. Once you have seen what other people see when they go to your timeline, you can change who can see the posts you've been tagged in, and this was that drop-down box I was talking about earlier. You can make it public. You can change it to friends of friends, your friends. You can change how people are labeled. You can make people acquaintances. So if you want to friend someone but you don't really know them, you can make them an acquaintance. You can make them a close friend, family, and then you've got your networks and places by area you've been or your job. So these are the posts you've been tagged in. And you can also change who can see what others post on your timeline. I'm about to explain the difference between those two because it took me a second. It's like, what is the difference between being tagged in something and posting on your timeline? This is JC's Facebook page. I am posting on his timeline. I am tagging Audrey. So posting is whose timeline it shows up on, whose wall it shows up on, and then tagging is just including someone. So when we see these two, who's been tagged and what's posted on your timeline, that's the difference there.
And I also have my profile set up so that no one, even though she tagged me, that doesn't show up until I approve it. So Facebook notifies me, hey, someone tagged you in a post, is that okay? And I can say, yes, that's fine, before that tag is actually allowed.
You can also customize your privacy. So you can share specific things with specific people only, or don't share them with a certain person. I hesitate to say that this is a very secure way to post things on Facebook, since anyone can take a screenshot and share it with whoever they want to. I could see, having taught middle schoolers, I could see a lot of students trying to exclude people with this, but because, as you saw earlier, when your friends have different settings, it changes what of yours is visible and what is not. I wouldn't rely on this too heavily. You can also change your settings to review tags that people add to your own posts. So I see this frequently. You've taken a picture, it's usually of somebody's kids, and they want to add the parents on there. This is just, do you want to be notified that someone is adding tags to your posts? You can add an audience. So when you're tagged in a post, who do you want notified that you were tagged in a post?
Or even who could see that. So if Samantha tags me in a post, I might not want all my friends to know that in their feed. So if she tagged me in a post, a third person's news feed might just show up and say, hey, Samantha tagged Audrey in a post, and I might not want that. It might be okay that she tagged me, but I don't necessarily want it showing up in everyone's, to broadcast it more.
That's a good way to put that. It really is broadcasting it.
Mm-hmm. Because the audience might not necessarily be people that get direct notifications, but they could still just see it show up in their feed or elsewhere.
Absolutely. And then the last setting is tagging suggestions. When you've got a photo that Facebook, because Facebook has a face recognizer, if the privacy settings weren't creepy enough, Facebook has a face recognizer. So when someone uploads a picture, when your friend uploads a picture that looks like you, it will ask, do you want to tag such and such? Which if you've got, a big group picture, it makes it easy. But the question is, who sees the tag suggestions when you've got photos that look like you? There are two options here, friends and no one. So either you want people to tag you in photos or you don't want anybody tagging you in photo.
If you want to be included in that photo, then you can go in and tag yourself. It's not going to keep you from being tagged at all. It's not excluding you and saying you can never be tagged in that picture. It's just making it less automatic.
And then they even specify suggestions can be ignored. So if you've got your tagging settings set to where if someone tags you, you have to approve it, you can always disapprove it. You can always tell Facebook, no thanks, I don't want to be in this. Facebook does not automatically tag pictures. So if someone tags a photo of you and says, oh, well, Facebook automatically tagged you, I couldn't do anything about it, they're lying. So to sum up our presentation, if it's questionable, it's unacceptable. If you make it to court, as Audrey pointed out, you've already lost. You would have to prove that your post was not disruptive to the learning environment, which if you're in court, it's disruptive to the learning environment. You have to prove that it's not unprofessional, that you have not undermined your work relationships, which if someone is suing you, that has undermined a work relationship. You have to prove that it's not offensive to the community you're serving, which again, if you're in court, it's obviously offensive to somebody. Parochial schools, we didn't talk about this earlier, but if you work at a religious school, you do have to respect the religion of that school. So if you are not a practicing member, it's likely that you were hired because they thought you were. I had some friends who were talking about working at a Catholic school, and when asked, how Catholic do I have to be to work here, it was kind of funny to me because if you're in that community, the answer is, well, if you're sending a student to a religious school, you want them to be of that religion. That's why you sent them there. So if you're violating the religious code of the school, if the religion says that you have to wear a head covering, and you've got pictures on your Facebook page where you're not wearing a head covering, you could be fired for that. If the religion says that you can only marry certain people, and you go on Facebook and say that you're not abiding by that, they could fire you. If you have religious dietary restrictions and you are online posting images, eating or drinking things that you shouldn't be, they could fire you for that. So if you work at a religious or private school, you need to take into account their codes of conduct as well. And we end with our core principle of professionalism. We're committed to making positive contributions to the education profession and to the lives of students by maintaining personal and professional dignity, by respecting and obeying the law, by demonstrating personal integrity and exemplifying honesty and ethical behavior, and assuming the responsibilities for professional teaching practices and performance. We hope you've enjoyed our presentation on social media, and we invite you to take our survey once the presentation has ended. We will be sending out tomorrow professional development certificates, and it will be uploaded to YouTube. Fingers crossed tomorrow if there are any glitches, at least by Friday, by the end of the week, so that you can go back and rewatch parts or share this with people that you may think are interested. We hope you have a great night. If there are no more questions, we will end this. If you think of any questions later, you can always email info@proedtn.org. Have a great night.